It is the most anticipated election in recent times. In less than 9 hours, voters from across the country will be streaming to nearly 41,000 polling stations to decide, among other things, who will lead Kenya into the second decade of the second millennium. Good evening from the KTN News election headquarters here in Nairobi. I'm Yvonne Okwara Matole. Linda?
And I'm Linda Ogutu. In the next hour or so, I will be speaking to the best political analysts in Kenya as we count down to the high-stakes election that has attracted the largest number of contestants in the country's electoral history. The panel is already here and will be giving you insights throughout this entire broadcast.
Is why we here at KTN News have deployed our journalists in every nook and cranny across this country. Take a look at this map we have here. We will make sure we capture every twist and turn of tomorrow's vote. It's also an election where technology could, in the end, be the game changer. And nowhere is that might of technology going to be more evident than at the Bomas of Kenya, from where we now join my colleague, Yusuf Ibrahim. Yusuf?
Good evening, Yvonne. Of course, this is the nerve center of the IEBC, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. And it's from here the Kenyans will get to listen to the final presidential results, which are going to be announced by the IEBC chairman, Wafula Chebukati. Well, it seems I'm jumping the gun because that will only happen after the 19.6 million registered voters are going to wake up very early in the morning tomorrow from 6 a.m. and exercise their democratic right. After that is when now results from all the 40,000 plus polling stations are going to be sent to the various polling centers and thereafter brought or transmitted right here to the Bomas of Kenya, because this is the national tallying center. But Yvonne, tonight we do expect the chairman of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, Wafula Chebukati, to come here, and we're going to have a one-on-one interview with him. But for now, let me take you back to a studio because Asha Mwili is on standby, ready to give us much more perspective on this year's historic election.
Thank you, Yusuf. As you monitor those giant screens at the Bomas of Kenya, the National Tallying Center, I'll be here with my touch screen to track the numbers and make sense of the trends. I will be moving from county to tell you what your vote is doing to this map. This is how the country voted in 2013. Of course, what color will we be painting the map this time around between Raila Amolo Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta? Who will win your vote this time around? But before that, we're not just tracking the presidential, the parliamentary seats. We're not just tracking the presidential seat, we're also tracking the parliamentary seats. And you do know one of the houses, the Senate, both houses controlled by Uhuru Kenyatta, the presidential ruling party, Jubilee Party. At the Senate, Uhuru Kenyatta had 23 senators, while the opposition had just 19. And from there, of course, we have the 8th gentleman who will be the main men to watch this time around. These 8, of course, are running for the presidential race. Who will be Kenya's next president, or will Uhuru Kenyatta maintain his seat? Of course, we have one of the few, Professor Michael Wainaina, we have Japheth Kavinga, we have Dr. Ekuru Okot, Raila Amolo Odinga, we have Mohamed Abdubadida, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, and not forgetting Joe Nyaga. But Joy, first let's come to you to find out what the trends will be on social media.
Oh, thanks a lot, Asha. And of course, we will follow the trends to figure out not just why Kenyans are actually tweeting about this election, but even how they're saying it and just how many of them are talking. I will be hosting a bunch of gigs and other clever Kenyans to give you insights into the place of social media in this election. But it will be an all-round conversation, so you can actually take part with all our reporters across the country and the region. We've got Sharon Momanyi in Kisumu County. Sharon.
Right, Kisumu County, Joy is considered a strong opposition stronghold, having voted in the opposition leader Raila Odinga 96% of the presidential vote in the last general election. How will they vote this time around? We have pitched camp here in this county across the 7 constituency and the more than 1,000 polling centers to take a look at exactly how that will be going. We'll be up and early just to inform Kenyans how the picture will be looking like from this end. But from Busia, my colleague Duncan Haemba brings us that picture.
Yes, Sharon, Busia County in 2013, they voted overwhelmingly for then called leader Raila Odinga, now NASA's presidential candidate. That gives him a head start, or rather that gives Raila Odinga sort of an advantage as he goes into tomorrow's election yet again to face off with the President Uhuru Kenyatta of Jubilee Party. It's 351,048 registered voters that will be making that critical decision come tomorrow. In terms of the contest, it's not only the gubernatorial, parliamentary, there are 3 constituencies, Nambale, Teso South and Budalangi, where we expect a tough battle among those that will be seeking either to retain their seats or to snatch it from the incumbents. That is what we'll be trying to look at tomorrow, and not forgetting that Jubilee believes that they've made serious inroads, given that in 2013, then as URP and TNA parties, they landed surprise parties because they got 2 members of parliament, Teso North and Teso South. Then the rest went to CORD then. And of course, given the manner in which they voted, it was a mixture because ODM, despite Raila Odinga getting the highest number of votes, he only managed 3 constituencies, Budalangi, Matayos and Funyula. The rest went to URP, 2 seats, and then 2 went to FPK and UDF. Therefore, tomorrow we'll be keeping an eye to see what exactly will be unfolding. From Busia County, this is Duncan Haemba. Over to you, Yvonne.
Thank you very much, Duncan Haemba. So that is the length and breadth by which we are covering this election right here. It's a great Monday night tonight. So let's take a look at our top stories this evening.
The Commission will make all efforts to expeditiously count, tally, and announce results as provided in law.
IEBC Chair Chebukati assures Kenyans of adequate plans to ensure tomorrow's polls are free and fair.
Vote for the candidates of your choice.
President Kenyatta calls for peaceful polls as he makes final televised national address before general election.
We don't understand how a place like Siaya, Homa Bay, Migori and so on could be out of network.
Odinga claims there are plans to shut down electronic poll systems by midday tomorrow as he demands IEBC action.
And I think they've done an extraordinary job under a lot of court challenges and under a very small time frame.
And former U.S. Secretary of State Kerry and other observers praised the judiciary for its plans to handle election petitions. Good evening and welcome. We begin right here from the Bomas of Kenya, where the IEBC has set up its National Tallying Center. The Commission Chair, Wafula Chebukati, now says they will use satellite phones to ensure all results are relayed electronically. We now join our news anchor, Yusuf Ibrahim, who is at our Bomas studio. Yusuf, it's been a busy day for IEBC officials there, and indeed that critical assurance coming from Chebukati at this hour.
Of course, it has been a very busy day. Actually, it has been a very busy 3 months, since they started preparing for this very historic election, Yvonne. And of course, tomorrow is a very historic day. It is a very historic moment because of the huge number of Kenyans, 19.6 million voters. That's a very big number because all of them are expected to exercise their democratic right. Now, Yvonne, earlier on today, the IEBC chairman, Wafula Chebukati, of course, we do expect him here any moment from now, had a press briefing. And among other things, they had talked about issues to do, with the long queues that might, make Kenyans not to come out in large numbers. They've said they've put measures to address that. He also talked about the polling procedure as well as, issues to do with technology, where they've clearly indicated that all voters are required by law to be biometrically identified. For now, let's listen in to what the IEBC chair had to say.
We understand the concern raised by Kenyans on the publication from the Commission on the 11,155 polling stations which don't have 3G or 4G network. We wish to assure you all that we have taken steps to ensure that the results are electronically transmitted for all the polling stations through satellite transmission. We have provided satellite capability to all the 290 tallying centers, from where presiding officers will take the results for transmission in any event. We have also availed satellite units to the 17 constituencies across the country that are worst affected by 3G network coverage, as well as one satellite unit per county. We have secured our technology infrastructure and will continue to monitor the systems on a 24-hour basis. We are aware of incidents of insecurity in Lamu and other parts of the country. We trust that security agencies will take measures to secure our territory to allow Kenyans to vote peacefully tomorrow.
There you go. That is the IEBC chairman, Wafula Chebukati, addressing the nation at a time when the country prepares to go to the polls tomorrow. Of course, there are more than 40,000 plus polling centers in the country. The IEBC chair has clearly indicated that they've deployed the required personnel. As far as the KIMS kit is concerned, they've deployed more than 45,000 of that gadget. I remember this election comes after that of 2013, where ICT experts are on record having said that by then the system did not fail. It's the people who failed the system. So have the IEBC learned from past mistakes? Is something that we're still keeping a keen eye on, and we're waiting for the IEBC chair to come to us here at the Bombers of Kenya, and we're going to forward those critical questions for him to answer. Back to you, Yvonne.
Yes, and Yusuf, you mentioned some critical questions that he's got to answer. But I wonder if you could give us some sort of lay of the land of what the National Tallying Center looks like, the big screens where we hope to see the results coming in from the constituencies, which we know now is the final announcement for the presidential results. What's your sense, if you can describe for us, the setup, the lay of the land, and indeed whether they have assured that they will be receiving the results straight from the constituencies?
Well, Yvonne, as you all know that, the Bombers of Kenya is a cultural and meeting place. But now it has literally been turned into a fortress, because as you make your way here, there are a lot of security personnel who have been deployed. Actually, the acting interior CS had already today said that they've deployed more than 150,000 police officers. But if you come or you make your way to this particular venue, you realize that apart from the normal accreditation, journalists and any other person who is supposed to, get into this particular venue are required to have some sort of a special accreditation. And at the auditorium, that is where the IEBC chairman, Wafula Chebukati, is going to announce, of course, the final results. By law, he's been given, a total of 7 days where he's going to make that all-important announcement. This auditorium can hold a total of about 3,000 people, and it's clearly labeled. There's a place for the, journalists, of course. It's not just local. There are a lot of international journalists who are also covering this historic election. There's a place for the agents. Actually, the agents who are going to represent the 8 presidential candidates. At least we know 2 of them. One, of course, is Senator James Orengo, who is going to be the chief agent of NASA, and the other is a former Energy Cabinet Secretary who was also former IEC Commissioner, is going to represent the Jubilee, the ruling Jubilee Party. So there's a flurry of activity happening here, Yvonne, because all system has been set. You know, there's a place actually for the family members of the various presidential candidates to sit. So this auditorium, as I've already told you, has a capacity of 3,000 people. Security has been put in place just to make sure that everything goes on smoothly. And Yvonne, there are big screens that have been put in almost all corners of this particular area, and that is where we, of course, members of the fourth estate, as well as Kenyans, are going to see as the results continue trickling in from the various polling centers, Yvonne.
All right, thank you very much. Yusuf Ibrahim joining us from the National Tallying Center at the Bomas of Kenya. And of course, that will be the epicenter of all the results that will be coming in. So this is Kivumbi 2017 that you're watching right now. We want to give you a breaking story, and this is news that we are just receiving from Mandera this evening. Gunmen believed to be Al-Shabaab militia have hijacked 3 vehicles in an attack along the Lafay Omar Jilo Road in Mandera County. The regional coordinator Mahmoud Saleh says the targeted vehicles were for civilians. The government says the attackers may have come from Somalia. And we can now go to our northeastern Kenya reporter Hamza Yusuf for more details. Hamza, what more can you tell us about this reported attack?
Well, of course, we are coming to you live from Garissa University. This is the tallying center for the county. We have earlier spoken to Mr. Anthony Njoroge, who is the returning officer and also the county elections manager, and he told us they have already brought in the ballot papers and they're ready to go for the elections tomorrow. Now, the other story that we have is Mandera, and we got information that two vehicles, a V8 and also Land Cruiser, have been hijacked by suspected Al-Shabaab, and they might have crossed to Somalia. There is no trace of these 2 vehicles up to now, because there is no network in that area. So this is not the first incident. You remember last week also a vehicle which is branded Jubilee have been taken by the same assailants. So it's quite a threat for the vehicles, especially those people who are using the private vehicles within the border, especially in Mandera.
All right, Hamza, you talk about the vehicles being hijacked and possibly having crossed into Somalia. What about the occupants of the vehicles, if any? Do we know the situation with respect to persons that may have been in the vehicles? Or did they just take the cars and cross over with them into the border?
Well, of course, it's quite sketchy information, Yvonne. What we were told is that they stopped the vehicle first, and then they were told, those people who were driving, they were told to step down from the vehicle. And then those assailants who were wearing like Al-Shabaab took the vehicle and went to the side of Arabia, that is towards Somalia. They also stopped, after a few minutes later, they also stopped a bus. But I was told they have not done anything to the passengers or the voters who are being transported to Mandera. But it's becoming quite a threat for the people who are using private means, as we were told today by one of our sources in Mandera County. Even.
All right, thank you very much. That's Hamza Yusuf, and he's joining us from Garissa, bringing us the latest news regarding that hijacking of 2 vehicles in Mandera County this evening on the eve of the elections, with just a few hours to go to the opening of the polls. That is at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. This is Kivumbi 2017 on KTN News, your official election station. We're taking a break, but we have got more news for you, including some numbers on this election, so don't go away. We'll be right back.
KTN News, your official